Hello everyone, welcome to the Gamers Grimoire and welcome to an MTGA deck tech for Historic. We've got Historic Burn. I just brewed a recent burn list and I've been doing quite well with this in ranked ladder in best of one, as well as in a setup for best of three. We'll probably do some best of three and best of one video matches in this video, but let's kind of break down the deck. So this is a burn list and this is a dedicated burn strategy. What do I mean by that is there's mono red and then there's burn. Burn doesn't typically exist here on Arena because you don't really have enough burn cards because we don't have enough lightning bolts for the most part that are efficient in the respective formats. But now with how Historic's been built, we now have a lot more options and flexibility as far as what we have access to. So let's go into the creature base for our one drops. We've got 3 Bomat Courier, 3 Artillery Enthusiast, 4 Blazing Rootwalla, 4 Reinforced Ronin, and 3 Voldaren Epicure. So Bomat Courier is a pretty staple card in a lot of new lists for burn. I'm not too sure if people are still playing it in Modern myself. I'll have to check the Modern metagame for paper, but I know it sees quite a bit of play in Explorer as a good burn option in Pioneer, which is the paper format for Explorer, and it serves a good purpose in this deck. It's an aggressive beater that can attack multiple times while also accruing advantage by being able to pop it and get all the cards underneath it. It's going to typically get eaten by removal because people don't want you drawing 4 cards randomly, but it also is a madness enabler for the deck, and there are quite a few madness cards in the deck between the Rootwallas as well as another card we'll get to in the 3 slots. We've got Artillery Enthusiast. It is a 1-drop that does the exact same thing. This is actually a sweet little +1 when working in conjuncture with the next monster in the deck, Blazing Rootwalla. You can go play Enthusiast on 1, discard a Rootwalla, and immediately either tutor out a Rootwalla, a Bomat Courier, another Artillery Enthusiast, or a Voldaren Epicure. That is really good. Being able to put, multiple bodies on the board on turn 1 while also not going down in card advantage is honestly amazing for burn. Burn typically has to play a math game, and people think that burn is a very easy deck to pilot. It's far from the truth. Burn, you have to make sure you are doing everything as efficiently as you can, and if you don't, you're going to lose. Rootwalla is a fantastic free discard in this deck while also having a relevant mana ability with the ability to pump itself to +2/+0. Being basically a walking lightning bolt, on legs is very strong. It's a creature that you can't just really ignore in a lot of matchups, and the fact that it is a free body that can come out in a multitude of ways in the deck is very flexible. We'll go into that in one of the other 1 slots. Next up, we've got Reinforced Ronin. It is our Goblin Guide. I'll put Goblin Guide up on the screen so people can have the comparison between the two. And while Ronin seems as it has a downside by returning to hand, in the burn matchup, honestly, it's probably one of the more annoying threats you're going to be dealing with. This card, because it doesn't stay on the board, cannot be wrathed away. You have to point it with targeted removal if you want to kill it, or artifact destruction because it is an artifact creature. And when it's no longer relevant, because it's got channel to discard to draw a card, this card is very useful for getting the last points of burn in when it can no longer get in itself. It's incredibly flexible also when we go into the 2 slot, and we'll talk about that in a little moment. Next up, we've got Voldaren Epicure. This card's fantastic. It triggers all of our spectacle. It also creates a blood token, and the blood token in this deck is actually fantastic when working in tandem with the madness cards. Being able to once again not lose advantage, blood tokens feel like they should have been in Innistrad when we did have madness as a core mechanic. Honestly, blood tokens feel like they would have fueled that, and honestly, I feel like if you ever get the chance to Chaos Draft, bring in a lot of the Innistrad sets together, and you'll have a very fun set to play. But otherwise, this card's great reach for the whole point of dealing damage to your opponent to trigger Spectacle, allows us to, to use our light up the stages and our Skewer the Critics without having to worry about anything, while also, being able to possibly close the game out on its own with the ping is not irrelevant. We've got 2 Molten Impact because we need to be able to kill stuff that's relatively big. Molten Impact is a pretty solid alchemy card that is available here in Historic. These are cards that only exist here on the digital format, but this card's really good. It kills either a planeswalker or a creature. Excess damage then makes it so your next instant or sorcery will allow you to kill extra things, be able to shoot damage more efficiently, and it's overall pretty flexible. We don't want too many non-direct burn spells in the deck, so we only run 2 of them, but they are good when they are good. Next up, we have one of the titular cards of the deck. This card is astounding and might end up getting nerfed. We've got Pass the Torch. This is a shock for 2 mana, and then it perpetually gives a card in hand. When this creature deals combat damage to a player, you may recast this card from the graveyard without paying its mana cost. And if you do, it loses the ability, but then you attach it to something else. That's where Reinforced Ronin comes into play. Reinforced Ronin, when you have 2 of them, creates this sort of little loop with Pass the Torch. This allows you to get a lot of explosive damage. One thing I will say is you must block the creature that has the Pass the Torch effect on it. And if you can trade with it, you should. Otherwise, Pass the Torch leads to some pretty absurd turns where you're going... Here's a good example. You go turn 1, Reinforced Ronin, attack for 2. Turn 2, you do nothing. You pass the turn and your opponent's a little confused. They might play a guy. If they play a small creature, you can go pass the torch. If they play something else, you can go pass the torch to their face. If you kill the creature, now you've got the effect on your Reinforced Ronin. And if you got 2 of them, you're not this very annoying loop where you're going to be killing stuff or burning your opponent for 4 every turn. That is really strong. And as a note, Perpetual is, unfortunately, I'm going to kind of dwell on this really quick. Perpetual is not a very healthy mechanic. Cards that, permanently give an effect to a creature that can also stack is kind of a design flaw. When you go pass the torch, and now you've got a creature that created a sub game, and you might not even know what creature in hand has it, even though most of the time it's going to be Reinforced Ronin. Sometimes it might be a Bomat Courier. You might create a sub game where if your opponent attacks, suddenly they took 8 out of nowhere because you get to cast multiple copies of Pass the Torch off of the perpetual triggers, which is annoying. This card is very strong, flexible, does 2 to any target. It probably cannot be shifted in one direction as far as its cost. It can't be cost 1, to make it actually a shock. Otherwise, it's effect would be way too strong, but even as it stands, it might be too strong. Next up, 4 copies of Static Discharge. It is the best burn card that's probably available to you. 2 mana to first time do 3, then do 4, then do 5, then do 6. That is 15 points of burn on its own between those 4 copies, so it's really strong. 2 copies of Bonecrusher Giant. Card's very good. We can't have multiple 3-drop threats, and we don't need more copies of a 2-drop burn spell when we already have 8. So we have a total of essentially 10 2-drop burn spells in the deck. It's very strong. It's an extra threat. Interesting thing is it also maintains the Pass the Torch effect when you go direct burn with it. It's an extra little follow-up to Molten Impact. Very strong. It's a staple of most mono red decks. Light up the stage. We got 3 copies of Light up the stage. It is a good card advantage card. We don't want too many because we don't want to be spending our time playing card advantage. We want to spend our time killing our opponent. We've got 2 Skewer the Critics, which might seem low, but given the amount of other burn, we don't need more copies. We actually ended up wanting a different 3-drop instead. Skewer is great. It's Lightning Bolt, or well, typically it's Lava Spike, but it can go to any target. It's very good. It's a staple in burn decks for the most part in other formats, and it does a great job doing what it needs to do. We've got 2 copies of Traumatic Prank, and we have more on the board for the best of 3 games. And Traumatic Prank is actually a card that I was experimenting with. I love this card. It is a threaten effect that does what Threaten should do for your deck. Perpetually giving a creature the inability to block and also pinging them every upkeep leads to some pretty slanted games, I got to admit. We've beaten Reanimator a lot, and I will say my Reanimator win rate with this deck is roughly 90%. And that's through a Sarah Emissary, which is normally a you will lose the game type of effect. And basically, Reanimator, unless they get multiples of those out, is going to have a hard time beating you. Because what do you name? Do you name creatures in the hopes that you can race them? Do you name instants, which most people actually won't because they don't think there's enough instant speed burn available to them? And we'll be going into that now in our 3 slot. We've got Fiery Temper. I love Fiery Temper. This is one of my favorite cards. I have the full promo set IRL for an Explorer deck that I had played for quite some time, as well as I had played it in multiple formats. Fiery Temper is a fantastic Madness card. It is also insanely good in this deck. It's fantastic with Voldaren Epicure because of the blood tokens, being able to pay 2 mana at instant speed essentially, and also draw a card. If you said deal 3 to your opponent, draw a card on it, you'd play that card no matter what. And this card's fantastic. It's really good value in this deck. It's a good card advantage source with Artillery Enthusiast, which can go discard it. For 2 mana, you're going to go Artillery Enthusiast, draw a 3-drop, which is any of these great 3-drops. So you can get Bonecrusher Giant, you can get Light Up the Sage, you can get Skewer the Critics, and you can get Traumatic Prank or another Fiery Temper off of the Artillery Enthusiast, and that's really, really efficient. Mana base, there's a few things I do want to change. I just don't have them available to me as far as my wild cards. I guess I can make the other Ramunap right now, and we can drop down 1 more mountain, and that'll be good because you should be playing 4 copies of Ramunap. We have 1 Sokenzan. You could probably play 2. I don't believe I own a 2nd copy, which is fine. But I don't recommend playing Den of the Bugbear in this deck. And why is that? Den of the Bugbear becomes a liability. It's a good, control, a good anti-control card. The problem being is you don't want lands that'll come in tapped at some point in the game. And Sokenzan, while not as strong as a Den of the Bugbear, being able to do this on your opponent's turn and then have extra threats to trigger Spectacle and everything like that, I think is better. It's also more of a better defensive play because you put 2 bodies on board. And then for Ramunap Ruins, this is pretty basic. Ramunap Ruins is a good reach card, a good card that lets you end games for the most part when you need to, and gives you other options too when normally casting a spell might be a detriment. It can let you play around, absorb, and stuff like that, which you could do with Den of the Bugbear, but this does it a little bit more aggressively. You can do this in response to stuff to kill them as opposed to opponents going for stuff when you activate Den of the Bugbear to gain life randomly. Sideboard, we've got 4 copies of Abrade because artifacts are a pain in the ass and you do need to get rid of them. We've got some anti-combo control. We've got Curse of the Shaken Faith. There are some new combo decks that are infinite combo based, and this is a good way to stop them best of 3. Another copy of Traumatic Prank. This card is, as we've seen, as I've already spoken about, it's quite good, and bringing it in against more creature-heavy matchups could be very strong. Claim the Firstborn in here kind of as a flex spot for right now. We might want to put in some anti-rapidity spells, things like either Grafdigger's Cage or the Rune Grave or whatever to stop Collect the Company or whatnot. But overall, Claim the Firstborn can help you get can steal some games actually, like playing against the mono white decks that are playing mono white company, being able to steal things like possibly even Heliod or stealing the 2-drop clerics allows you to kind of punch in for damage randomly. It's very cheap, being 1 mana, you can play multiple in a turn. Cleansing Wildfire. This is for some of those weird combo decks that utilize stifle lands and stuff like that. Namely the not the Blood Moon, but the not Alpine Moon either. It's a similar card. Blood Sun. That lets us so you can play your Lotus Fields, but this allows you to kill the Lotus Field while it doesn't have hexproof. Also good for fighting against control matchups that there are a lot of people who play greedy mana bases, and punishing them for doing so is definitely good. Some Stone Rains kind of for the same exact reason, and 1 more copy of Traumatic Prank to bring up to the 4 copies. Kind of weird that it was like that right there, but that's fine. Once again, creature matchups, especially against Reanimator, you can really just steal games with Traumatic Prank. And it's also good against, weirdly enough, Angels. When they play their Baneslayer Angel and you steal it and hit them for 5 with it, it's a bummer. Plus, the first strike, Lifelink Angels no longer being able to block can really set those decks back. So let's get into some of these games. And I hope you guys look forward to seeing the gameplay. And we'll get into that in just a moment. All right, we're immediately into our first match. So let's see how this one goes. If we're on the play, we are more likely to win because that's just how it be for burn. We do go first, and this looks like a pretty good keep. Not the most explosive hand, but still a pretty decent one. You're going to play turn 1, Voldaren Epicure, and pass it. This leaves up putting in a Rootwalla on the following turn, as well as still being able to... Okay, and we're playing against Azorius. So we're going to go Skewer here. Put them at 15, and we're just going to end the turn. Okay, so we're against Jeskai. We could see a Helix, but we're going to go and get some free value here. If they counter the Rootwalla, it's not the end of the world because it was a free spell, and we're still going to draw a card here. This puts them on a pretty big clock, and they're going to have to probably want to answer more of the board right now. They might actually even counter this right now. They did not. We get the draw card here, which is great. We got another Rootwalla. So let's go and attack first and see what our opponent wants to do. Go to damage, and we are going to activate Rootwalla. This might, press them. Oh, Revitalize. Okay. They're going to revitalize gain 3. This makes me think that we're playing against like the Approach the Sun style of deck. We unfortunately do not have any copies of the 3-mana Skullcrack from New Capenna, which I might want to put into the deck, but we'll see. Looks like they're stuck on 2 lands, so they need to opt to find one. If they miss the land here, they might just die. They did hit it. They're going to shock, and what are they going to play here, though? Shocking against burn is a great way to die. Treasure map. I still do not know what we are against. So what is my line of play here? I want to start static discharging him. So I'm going to hold off on that for now. So we're going to put our opponent down to what? 7 here? No, 6. Okay. I'm going to leave up Rootwalla. So we've got enough burn to kill him in hand. Ritual of Rejuvenation. What in the hell am I playing against? That's like Revitalize's worst cousin. All right, well. Puts another body on board. Traumatic. Okay, we finally drew a land. So what is better here? I think it's actually attack with these and pump both Rootwallas. Because if they need to tap out to play like a Supreme Verdict or a Wrath of God, we should be able to then just kill him with a 2-mana burn spell. Tasha's Hideous Laughter does not kill us. I'm sorry, homie. All right. And I'm pretty sure he's dead. I don't... Oh, and he goes on his own terms. All right. GG, sir. I think I've played against this guy before. We've been doing quite a lot of work with burn. We started out actually at Plat 4, and we've been climbing ever since. So let's get into the next game, and we'll see you guys there. All right, on to the next game. We are against AK 9000. All right, what do we have here? This is a little suspect, but mulliganing with burn is not particularly great. So we're just gonna have to play this as is and see how we do. If we're against a creature matchup, I'm pretty happy. We're also on the draw. So this hand's not too bad on the draw. We still have a 1-drop, and we're going to want to make sure we do curve out. So we're going to go play Rootwalla on turn 1, which is, kind of sad. But, ooh, our opponent also mulliganed. If they are a creature deck, I am happy. Oh, we might be against the Burn Mirror. Okay, our matchup versus the Burn Mirror is pretty favored on our side. I'm not going to lie. We play more removal and more cards that harm them. And I think the only card we're really afraid of in this matchup is Chain Whirler. Okay, so it's this version of the deck too. Second Fervent Champion. So we have to kill the second Fervent Champion. So we are going to get hit for 4 here. And I think I'm okay with that. We're going to go to 15. We are going to Molten Impact and kill one of these Fervent Champions. This leaves us with an excess damage of 3. I think I'm going to leave this back for the Scorch Spitter. Voldaren Epicure's damage is not really necessary now, and if he plays another Fervent Champion, I really don't want to just die. So, another Scorch Spitter, that's perfectly fine. So, I'm going to kill the Scorch Spitter here, and we're just going to clear the board next turn. And perfect, we get to add to the board too. So, let's play Pass the Torch, and kill this one with the Molten Impact. And we are going to give that to Bonecrusher Giant. And I think I'm just going to leave up the ability to put Rootwalla into play and maintain card advantage. Krenko, interesting. That is dying next turn, but... So unfortunately, you're going to see like the weakness of other red decks. They can't maintain card advantage. They are all eggs in one basket, and we don't got to beat like that. So, all right, so we're going to go Stomp it. And we get to light up the stage this turn. We're going to pump the Rootwalla. He's going to go to 16. And we get to go light up the stage for some card advantage for next turn. And those are 2 really good hits. So that's really good. We got 2 1-drops. Tybalt. Interesting. Okay. So he's going to make a Devil, which is fine. We can't gain life, but I'm not too worried. So we're going to go play this guy. Play this guy. And yeah, I think it's in my best interest to clear the board. So I want to see what he does here. He's probably just going to kill the Rootwalla, and that's fine. He's going to kill both my Rootwallas, and we trade for Tibalt, which I think is totally fine here. Yep, and he goes and kills that. That's all right. So we still have 2 of these Reinforced Ronins. There's no reason to not play the Voldaren Epicure this turn. All right, and these go back to hand. So we've got essentially 4 cards. And we've also got this blood token to cycle the Fiery Temper. He found his Ramunap Ruins. We're going to go play this guy, and we're just going to start beating face. It's very funny. In the mono red matchup, you get to play this weird controlling role because you've got more removal. And I don't see my opponent winning this game. He's got to top deck aggressively against us. He could play a, what's it called? Okay, so Fervent Champion doesn't really matter. He also can't play. Yeah, he's just dead. And here's the thing. He can't attack here. And if we get in with this, we get to then pop it with the Pass the Torch and get that going. So GG's to you, sir. All right, we're into the 3rd game now. So we're getting Packle Toss. And yeah, this is a fantastic hand. Okay. And we are on the play too. So this is even better. All right, so play this. And we're going to show you the strength of Artillery Enthusiast. And we got a Reinforced Ronin. That is phenomenal. That is phenomenal news. Okay. So do we just punch for 2 next turn? So we are probably against... Okay, yeah. We are against Phoenix. All right. So let's just go kill that because we do not want Soulscar Mage to sit around. And this is probably going to be a tough matchup for our opponent, I got to admit. But we also need to make sure we aren't drawing more lands. Another Soul-Scarred Mage. She might kill a creature here. I would like to see what my opponent wants to do. So let's attack with both and see what he does. This could also just be, is it tempo? And we've unfortunately drawn 5 lands, which is terrible in a 20 land deck. So let's see what he does here. Play with fire. That doesn't do what you might hope it's going to do here. All right, so you wish to do that. Do you go to blocks? Yep. All right. So the question is, do I get rid of the Scar Mage now? I think so. I think I should get rid of the Soul Scar Mage. What sucks is we cannot afford to draw lands anymore. I think like the best card to top deck right now would be a Bomat Courier, which will then eat the first removal spell it could possibly see. All right, Dreadhorde Arcanist. That is a little annoying. I got to admit. That does wall us off pretty hard. I kind of want to leave that in hands. All right, so we just kind of have to do this. This could go bad for us. If he's got like a shock or an unholy heat, we're going to be probably on the back foot here because we've drawn too many lands already. We want to sit at like 3 and then not do a whole lot else, but all right. We could thin our deck out some. They might just go for the play of kill Rootwalla. No, they're going to kill this. Sure, Wizard Lightning, that's fine. He does have a play with fire, so we get our 1 point of damage, or we get our 3 points of damage in here, but he's going to kill this with play with fire next turn. Is there any more 1-drops in here? No, he's just got the play with fire. So this is it tempo? So this is the Is It Wizards deck. I do need an answer to this pretty badly. Do I thin my deck? I do wonder. Do I thin my deck? No. I'm going to leave up the option of getting like a Fiery Temper or another Rootwalla so we can get card advantage out of it. All right, so he's going to go play with fire. Our opponent's also drawn a lot of the lands too, which I guess is fine. He's played more on red than blue, so we don't have to worry about Crackling Drake. So, but I know this deck does play Ionize, which also has double blue in its cost, so I think we're kind of okay right now. Sokenzan. Interesting. All right, we're just going to play the Artillery Enthusiast and not discard the Sokenzan. He can't Ionize, I know that much, so we're going to have to just see. I'm going to decline to discard. Decline. He could just kill it out of nowhere, which is fine, but at worst, we're racing with 2/1/1s. But it's still looking pretty bad here. He's going to go Static Discharge, so they are that deck. I don't know if they play pump spells, so they can play the Static Discharge just from the graveyard with these, because they typically do play some form of pump. All right. He's got nothing to return. Put a stop on his end step. And we do have a lot of live draws. We just have to hope we get them. All right, Sokenzan. All right. Do you want to kill one of these? All right, well. We're at least live drawn. He's got to draw removal basically for every one of my other threats, so if we get to hit him for 4 here, he's got to be careful on how he erases us. All right, he does have the removal spell. But you know what's great is these Wizard's Lightnings are not going to our face, so he's still technically on the back foot here. He needs Wizard. Okay, that doesn't really matter. Second Dreadhorde Arcanist is not going to change much. It just kind of walls us off. All right. We're going to leave the land in hand. We can't really attack here. He might just be pecking at us for 1. We're probably going to start sacrificing these Ramunap Ruins to put him down a bit lower. You're attacking with both. Very interesting. I don't know if I agree with that play. All right, well. Ramunap number 1. So they go to 8 here. They go to 6. They got to be careful. They can just die. Going to 6 and 3, going to 3 against Burn is miserable. I got to tell you guys that. It is miserable going to 3 and Burn at Burn. I'm at 15. He's got a 15 turn clock. All right, that's a 4 points of Burn. We go to 11. He's still not in a great spot here. Like, what? You're going to go to 4? All right. He does. If for only 1 here. We're going to go Ramunap Ruin you. We need to draw some heat, though. There's Bomat Courier. So we're just cycling the Courier for 1 here, which is fine. But we do get 2 points in right now. He also auto passed the trigger, so we know he doesn't have any burn. We're gonna go grab this. If we find, okay, that's not bad either. He goes to 1. We now have 3 threats on board. He's at 1. We get a redraw or potentially the ability to kill him. So we're looking pretty good. I don't know if he can. There's one way we die, and if he top deck the other 2 copies of Static Discharge, we do just die here. Wait, what? Why? All right, well, good game. Unless that last card is negate, sir. And this is a free redraw too. Doesn't auto pass. He could have negate, which would be very strange. If it's a quench, we can pay for it. We might not be too happy right now. Spell Pierce. We will pay for the Spell Pierce. Good game, sir. Very strong deck, though, on the opposing side. He just didn't have anything to kind of go with these Dreadhorde Arcanists. No, not enough 1-drops. And that's one of the reasons I'm not a big fan of using Wizard Lightning in this deck, because it's stuck as a 3-drop unless you have a Wizard in play. And it doesn't actually reduce its cost or make it actually look like a cost 1. All right, we're on to the 4th match. We are against Big Poppy Energy. All right, so yeah, this hand's great. All right, and we're on the play. We have gotten to be on the play quite a few times. All right. So far, this draw is looking pretty strong. Oh my god, are we against the mono red act? We are. We are either against mono red or we are against goblins. Fanatical Firebrand makes me think we are against mono red. So I just have to make sure I just don't misplay. If he doesn't attack with this, he is strange and playing around past the torch. If he does attack, we're just going to kill it with past the torch. Okay, we're going to kill it with past the torch. Perfect. Put it on the Reinforced Ronin, which I actually wonder if he can see the Perpetual on the Reinforced Ronin. What's bad for my opponent is, okay, there's Den of the Bugbear. I'm not too worried about this. If we see the second play and it's a goblin card like Wily Goblin, we know we're against goblins. If we see a non-goblin, okay, we're against mono red. Okay. Very interesting. I gotta say. But yeah, no cigar. I'm sorry, friend. Let's give that to Bomat. And let's just go stomp on Robber the Rich. Reinforced Ronin is now going to go to hand. And yeah, okay, so we're in the mono red mirror. And he doesn't know what in my hand has the effect now. If he plays too many aggressive threats like a Bugbear, like a 3/3. Okay, so he played Anox instead. What do I do here? I probably just do Skewer that. I'm going to be honest. It's going to make a 1/1, but I do need those off the board. All right, so he's got 4 mana. He's drawn a lot of lands, so that's kind of good for us. One more land becomes kind of problematic with this Den of the Bugbear with no more instant speed threats. This can't block. He could be holding up... okay, Karizev. She's actually quite annoying. Ooh, and Rahilda. All right, the double strike first striker. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play Voldaren Epicure. I'm going to play one of the Rootwallas, and we're just going to sit for now. I probably should play the Bonecrusher Giant, but we'll just have to see. We're going to get hit by Ragavan. Okay, he can still actually activate Den of the Bugbear right now. Oh, okay, we're against Big Red. Now I'm actively in danger. All right. How much of a punch here can I take? So Ragavan hits for 4. She hits for 4. That hits for 3. That hits for 3. I'm going to kill Voldar. I'm going to kill the Satyr token because it keeps coming back. I can't kill Rahilda. Dang, that's really rough. I was not expecting this. We're probably going to lose to Big Red. All right, yep, and we take a fuck ton of damage. It's a Static Discharge, which blows. Oh, that's gone forever, though. Okay. Play this. This stops him from attacking. But what sucks is Bonecrusher trades with literally everything, and Rahilda hits even on my creatures, she'll hit for 4. So I think we're just dead here, unfortunately. We didn't draw enough removal. We saw what our 1 Pass the Torch and our Bomat. All right, so we can live for probably not even another turn, come to think of it. Oddly enough. Like, Rootwalla's got a block on Ragavan. Oh no, we're just dead. Yeah, good game, sir. Yeah, we are very dead. We are dying to Torbrand pretty bad. He just hits for way too much damage. We needed Molten Impact like that turn, or else we were not coming out of that game. All right, now into game 5 for best of 1. We are against Snow Fiction. We'll see how this game goes. We did get beat by the other mono red deck. That's the first mono red deck I have lost to, but I think that's quite okay. So I'm going to lead with Ronin here. Get our 2 points of damage in, and the next turn we'll play Voldaren Epicure and leave up the ability to cycle Rootwalla and put it into play. I think that'll give us the most board presence. We got 1 Static Discharge in hand. Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is not great against Burn. I got to be real. They probably have to take Reinforced Ronin. They're not going to take Rootwalla, but you know, yeah, Rootwalla. They might take Static Discharge. I think the correct pick is to take Reinforced Ronin. Yeah. But the good news is that doesn't change my play. We're going to go to 15 here. Thoughtseize is pretty terrible against Burn, I got to admit. Okay, so we're against the mono black aggro deck. Thoughtseize again, sure. This time they take Static Discharge, which is fine. They're kind of like forced into taking Static Discharge, but that's okay with me. They go to, God, they go to 13. You don't take a Rootwalla. That just gets you. Oh, interesting. They left the Static Discharge. Very strange. Well, I'll teach you why Madness for 0 is a really strong opponent. So first, I want to see what he wants to do here. Do you trade with Rootwalla or go to 10? If you go to 10, I think you're crazy. Oh, you're crazy. Put you to 7. It might have been better to leave up mana, so you couldn't go for another Thoughtseize. Hard cast a Murderous Rider. Very telling here. Oh, no blocks, dude. That's not correct. That is very much not correct. So now I get to do that. It goes back to the deck. What's funny, if they have Inquisition of Kozilek, that's also terrible, and they have to know that because the Blazing Rootwalla doesn't really care. So, oh, Rankle's funny too. Like, what are you going to do here? Make me sacrifice something? It's definitely not the other mode. It's definitely each player just... Oh, that doesn't work, dude. Well, thank you for the free advantage. You are now taking lethal. Yep. That was so wrong in so many different ways. Yeah, all right, well, kill you. All right, well, sometimes players don't realize that madness for 0 means madness for 0. GG's, and I think that's it for the best of 1. I'm going to probably do a separate video for the best of 3. So our record in 5 matches in best of 1, we went 4-1. We lost to another mono red deck, and it was a big red deck. And that deck will struggle against control, where we probably won't, because Torbrand's, I'll be real, Torbrand's probably not resolving against control deck, and it's probably going to be answered by multiple different threats. Whereas another mono red deck, it's a linear strategy, so it's going to suffer into decks that go over the top. That's what mid-range decks are really for. But if you are interested in the deck list, let me quickly go over to decks. I will post that down in the comment, or rather in the description of this video, and we'll go to best of 3 after and see how best of 3 games go. And we'll do a little separate analysis of how this deck fares in best of 3. In best of 1, this deck is very consistent. So if you are a enjoyer of burn and really like playing mono red, give this deck a spin. It's a lot of fun and very interesting to pilot, because you get so many more options than you would in, say, a regular burn deck, because you're normally burning through resources, no pun intended, very quickly. But in this deck, you get to cycle through your resources as free resources. And we might be able to adjust the mana base to have fewer lands. Playing 20 is probably the safe bet without fetches, but we don't really have access to those. We are not playing Fabled Passages in a deck that needs its lands untapped. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with this deck. This is a lot of fun, and I hope some other people pick it up. But that's it for now, and you guys have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.